Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including why a 500-mile Tesla could be on the horizon soon, new price cuts, Tesla improving range predictions, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, Tesla has rolled out some recent updates that should greatly improve the driver experience when it comes to charging and battery management. A few weeks ago, Tesla made news when their cars found themselves dead and unable to charge at superchargers across Chicago. The weather dipped as low as minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and a lot of drivers were stuck with nowhere to go. There were a lot of questions when the story came out. Were the superchargers failing in the cold, or were all of the batteries in these cars not adequately conditioned to receive a charge? Either way, this was a really concerning story for the thousands of Tesla drivers who live in many freezing cold places across the globe. Not many cars deal well with these extreme temperatures, but it still doesn't look great for Tesla. In response, Tesla has rolled out a software update that should do a lot to prevent incidents like this from happening in the future. Now, if you pull into a supercharger and your battery is too cold to receive a charge, a timer will pop up on screen that will tell you how long it will take to warm up. This is a great feature for clarity if you are driving in very cold climates, but it is a reminder of why you should always navigate to superchargers beforehand. While you are en route, the car will automatically begin to heat up the battery so you can plug in and charge as efficiently as possible. This is the easiest and most user-friendly way to do it, but I do wish Tesla would allow you to manually engage this as well, maybe for a certain period of time. For experienced EV drivers, possibly charging close to home, it would be great to enable it yourself and have it fully preconditioned before you get there without even having to navigate. This update also adds another cold weather feature that makes it even more efficient to navigate to a charger. When you set a supercharger as your destination, the car may begin to automatically hit the charge port on the way. This simple measure is designed to keep the port from icing shut in extreme weather. While it was definitely unfortunate to see all of those Tesla owners who found themselves unable to charge, this update should do a lot to prevent this from happening in the future. The real test will likely come next year. In a similar vein, Tesla has rolled out a feature that will make their range estimates more accurate. As electric vehicles age, they will slowly start to see diminishing range as their batteries begin to wear down. Battery degradation is a normal part of all batteries, but Tesla has shown some pretty impressive data on how long their cars last when dealing with normal degradation. Their data from Model S's and X's, the cars of theirs that have been on the road the longest, showed around 12% battery degradation after 200,000 miles. This process takes time, but over several years it can have a big impact. Before now, this battery aging would not impact your car's estimated range though, even as it was reducing range in the real world. Now Tesla is changing that. Quote, your estimated battery range now incorporates additional characteristics related to battery aging over time. There are a lot of factors that contribute to your car's battery life, including wind speed and direction, elevation and grade, traffic speed, average acceleration or deceleration, ambient temperature, humidity and pressure, solar load and cloud cover, initial battery percentage, initial battery temperature, gross combined vehicle weight, rolling resistance, aerodynamic drag coefficient, HVAC consumption, vehicle-specific energy consumption from things like a bike rack, and battery preconditioning. Those all affect range and are affecting your range calculation. So now added into that super long list is the battery's age, and that really is vital here. I'm honestly surprised it wasn't there before, since it clearly plays a factor, even by a few percents, under the first 50,000 miles, but better late than never. This should help most clearly with older vehicles though, which we're seeing more and more as the years go by. The Model 3 is approaching 8 years on the road since its first launch. This is further proof of Tesla's commitment to making their vehicles better through software updates. These updates should improve the user experience for a lot of drivers in some small but noticeable ways, and it's always great that these push to every owner overnight and are by no means reserved for only the latest model. Next up today, Tesla has an interesting history when it comes to long-range cars. 3 separate times they have promised a very long-range EV but not actually delivered it. Back in 2021, Tesla announced the Model S refresh, and one of those trims was called Plaid Plus. It was supposed to go faster than the Plaid's 0 to 60 in 1.99 seconds and include a 520-mile range. At the time, that was just a tiny bit more range than the top-spec Lucid Air, which was the longest-range EV yet. In a way, the Plaid Plus was Tesla's response to that car, but it never released. Elon simply said, Plaid Plus is canceled. No need, as Plaid is just so good. He then expanded on that, saying, what we are seeing is that once you have a range above 400 miles, more range doesn't really matter. There are essentially 0 trips above 400 miles where the driver doesn't need to stop for restroom, food, coffee, etc. anyway. This has been Tesla's stance for some time, but in the real world, their cars don't get their estimated ranges, so even with normal charging stops, you aren't truly seeing 400 miles. For the Cybertruck, the top spec there was supposed to be 500 miles. That was really exciting, especially for customers who need it for towing and heavy hauling, but when it released, the top range ended up being 340 miles for all-wheel drive. For the average customer, that's plenty of range, but not at all that big number. Then, of course, there's the Roadster, which seems as though it may never come. It promises a 620-mile range still, and I imagine that most people believe it won't come to fruition. Tesla's views on range have been clear, and for most customers that does make sense, but as competition is heating up, we're seeing long-range EVs make it to market. We're also seeing the EPA enforce new rules regarding how companies report their ranges. Earlier this year, Tesla dropped the range estimates for the Model S, Model X, and Model Y pretty significantly. This was because Tesla says they added more comfort and functionality improvements that use more energy, but also because the EPA updated their testing cycle. It now requires tests to be conducted with acceleration and ride height modes in best and worst case scenarios, and the average is taken. The long-range Model Y dropped from 330 miles to 310 miles as a result, and performance dropped from 303 to 285. That may not sound like a lot, but considering no change was made to the battery pack, it is noteworthy. Interestingly, Tesla is now dealing with more EPA issues here. A Model S delivery was pushed back until later this month, and the reason was that there was an issue with the EPA. Tesla did not have approval to deliver this car. Multiple customers have reported similar since, with another delivery hold occurring for the Model Y Performance. Quote, Tesla believed they had all the necessary paperwork in order to deliver these cars, but due to the efficiency package upgrades, the EPA has asked Tesla to pause deliveries to allow them to retest these two trims specifically. Right now, it appears that Model S all-wheel drive and Model Y performance vehicle deliveries are paused until March 7th at the earliest. That timeline could change, but that is a pretty interesting thing to see. I'm not sure we've ever seen a Tesla delivery pause due to an EPA range in the past, but it does point to the fact that Tesla is starting to have true competition when it comes to range. Up in the 400s and 500s, there's of course the Lucid Air, but now Kia is working on an all-new electric vehicle called the EV8. It is expected to bring over 600 horsepower and 500 miles of range. This will be Kia's first vehicle on their EM platform, and they say it will improve range by 50% compared to current models like the EV6. The EV8 is expected to enter production in 2026, and part of what delivers that range is its 113.2 kilowatt-hour battery pack. The thing is, that 500-mile range number is WLTP, estimating between 435 and 497 miles, so converted to EPA, we're looking at a range of about 443 miles. Still, that tops any and all of Tesla's offerings today, and gives that really good range buffer that some customers are looking for. Soon as well, we could see more options like this from other automakers. There are plenty of arguments as to why a range number this high isn't necessary and a waste of battery resources, but for some customers it's truly what they need in order to make the switch. With high range options not just coming from luxury companies like Lucid or Mercedes, but from companies like Kia, we may finally see Tesla have to respond. The long-range Model Y is at 310 miles of range today. But maybe eventually, potentially with the help of 4680 cells or another technology, they could introduce a new long-range plus that takes that up over 400 miles of range. I'm personally excited for that day. For my needs, standard range is usually fine, but not everyone can charge at home each day or stop to charge as often. We'll see what happens here and if Kia can deliver on what is leaked here, but either way, competition is heating up in regards to range, and that's a good thing for consumers. Next up today, after a spree of price cutting worldwide, Tesla has just reversed course and raised the price of their best-selling Model Y in certain markets, along with the brand new Model 3 in the US. Over in Germany, the Model Y has seen a pretty considerable price increase. The rear-wheel drive version has been raised by €2,000, or an equivalent of about $2,150. Then both the long-range and performance trims have been raised by €2,500, or $2,700. Others have pointed out that the Model Y has also seen a price increase in Norway equivalent to $1,900. Those are some pretty big price increases that greatly reduce the price cuts that Tesla just rolled out a few weeks ago. Perhaps Tesla realized that those price cuts were unsustainable and had to course correct to find a middle ground. With pressure from Chinese automakers like BYD, Tesla knew that they needed to make some big adjustments to stay competitive. Perhaps those adjustments were a quick reaction from Tesla that once things had calmed down a bit, they realized were too much. They are always dynamically responding to the market and demand, so they may have plenty of demand here. This is still a lower price than what it was before the price cuts, but just not quite as good as it was a few days ago. I'm also curious if this has anything to do with the recent closure of Giga Berlin for a few weeks. Supply chain issues stemming from the Red Sea led to this factory shutting down Model Y production for a few weeks, and they're only just beginning operations again. Before shutting down, that factory had just reached a record of 6,000 Model Ys made per week, but then they had to shut their doors. I'm curious how quickly they are able to resume that pace, and if the supply chain is secure enough to hit those numbers. If their pace is going to be slowed down at all, then this could be a reaction to an upcoming Model Y shortage in that region. Here in the US, the new Model 3 has just seen its second price increase in just the last few weeks. A couple weeks ago, the Model 3 saw its price raised by $1,000, and now it has been bumped up by another $500. That means that the long-range dual-motor all-wheel drive Model 3 now starts at $47,490 and is still ineligible for federal tax credits. So if you're buying a Model Y and you don't qualify for a tax credit, these cars are only $500 apart. I imagine part of this has to do with the fact that the Model 3 is entirely refreshed, which we'll detail more in a bit, and the fact that the Model Y is now, quote, older. But if you qualify for a tax credit, the Model Y long range is $7,000 cheaper than the Model 3, which is very interesting to see. This could similarly have to do with scaling, as Fremont works to get back up to full production capacity on the refreshed Model 3. This refresh brings a ton of great features to the Model 3, but compared to the savings that you can get with the Model Y's tax credit, that may be a harder sell for some prospective customers. The new Model 3 is a great car, and I hope they are able to make it qualify for the tax credits again soon. Either way, Tesla's vehicles are constantly seeing price changes, so the day-to-day fluctuations don't make a huge difference. Since their introduction, the prices on these vehicles have all trended down with time, and generally, now's a great time to be buying if the car delivers what you want today. Next up today, Tesla has shared a new video that gives us some interesting insight into the design of the new Model 3. In this video, Franz von Holzhausen and other Tesla designers talk us through some of the many changes that they've introduced on this new car. They talk about the changed exterior and how their goal was to get rid of the baby fat on the original Model 3. They slimmed down the headlights and general shape of the front end to give it a much sleeker silhouette. The rear end also has seen an update with sharp brake lights that go up when the trunk is opened. They also offer two new colors, the High Chroma Ultra Red and Stealth Gray, both of which look great. They also give us some insight into the ways that the doors have changed to further protect passengers in case of a side impact. The doors now have a stronger structure within that should do a lot to protect against impact. They also reinforced the door hinges, the door latch, and added a new catch on the bottom of the door to make it more secure. These three connection points work together to catch the door in a side impact and do a lot to protect the driver and passenger. They also talk about the great care that was taken to quiet the car's interior. The interior isn't just insulated, but elements of the entire car's design were made to decrease driving noise. For example, the hood has a small ramp-like design that deflects wind up over the top of the car to reduce wind noise. Phone calls have also generally been greatly improved, with the car doing a better job of isolating voices and cutting down on background noise. Tesla's VP of Vehicle Engineering, Lars Moravy, elaborated on X how the vehicle's updated suspension helps to improve ride comfort. The new suspension includes a technology that they have called frequency selective dampening. Essentially, it works to actively reduce shaking frequencies felt in the driver's belly, the 4 to 6 Hz range, while not sacrificing steering response. He says that it, quote, basically just makes the small nibbles in the road disappear. He later posted a diagram that shows their research into how the body is impacted by different vibrational frequencies. This goes to show how much science and testing goes into making these cars some of the most comfortable on the road. I can attest this car does feel great to drive, and it's great to know that Tesla cares so much about constantly improving the driving experience. The interior design had a focus on simplicity that takes Tesla's normal design language to new heights. The dashboard and center console are very sleek and minimal, using a new textile that Tesla specifically designed. The new LED light bar gives the whole cabin a very futuristic and cohesive look that wraps around the entire interior. The sound system has been greatly improved for a better music listening experience that truly makes it one of the best on the road. The front seats now are ventilated, and the rear screen offers tons of entertainment and climate controls for passengers. In addition to the improved front seats, the rear has also seen some great improvements. The rear seats have gotten additional cushioning in the seat base and an increased incline for added support. The trunk space has also been greatly improved over the previous model, and at no cost to the room in the rear seats. Lars Moravy expanded, saying they, quote, found efficiencies in the rear packaging to increase trunk space. They did that all without reducing any of the rear passenger space. It's always cool to hear from the Tesla employees working to improve these cars, how they are doing it, and in all of the little ways that they're doing it. I think Tesla has really hit it out of the park with this particular car, and I can't wait to see what changes come when they roll out the upcoming Model Y refresh. Last up today, over at Rivian, we are eagerly awaiting the reveal of their upcoming R2 vehicle. That car is due to be shown off at their upcoming event in Laguna Beach, California on March 7th, as well as live streamed online. We still don't have a ton of information on this vehicle yet, but they have posted some minor details on their website. Reservations will open for this vehicle during the reveal event, and it will require a refundable $100 deposit. They've also shared a short teaser video that reiterates the company's focus on adventure and gives us a very brief look at the front of the vehicle. We can't really make out any details here, other than the fact that it retains their signature headlights and light bar. The vehicle looks a bit smaller than their R2 vehicles, as their photos of the R2 under wraps suggested. Excitingly, we do know that the R2 should come standard with an NACS port installed, meaning that it will have an even smoother charging experience than its larger predecessors. I'm very excited to see this vehicle when they properly show it off next month. If they can hit their goal of selling this car starting at $40,000, that would do a lot to make Rivian a major competitor for Tesla. We'll have to wait and see more, but until then, we'll keep our eyes open for more news as it comes. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see my full review of the Hyundai Ioniq 6 and how it stacks up against the 2024 Model 3, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.